Well, I can't think of a better intro than a console that looks like a weird spaceship. If you may be interested to know, I recently joined bankruptcy by spending an amount of money that scares even rich people on a PS5. Needless to say, the PS5 is quite expensive. But it could have been more expensive. Let me show you.
You see, this is fine. Not great, but fine. You see, this is a nightmare.
Looks like I'll have to say goodbye to a kidney. After nearly 2 years since the PS5 released, I finally was able to find one at retail price, and conveniently I had enough money to buy it. I just wish I was paying more attention when I bought it. Yeah, but nonetheless I have one, and so far it's been a great experience. But before we talk about that experience, let's talk about the big build-up to this next-gen beast. It was almost 3 years ago when the next-gen Xbox was revealed. The Xbox Series X. Looks like a fridge. Holy crap! Now, after this amazing reveal of Xbox's new console to come out the next year, what was PlayStation doing? Oh crap. We gotta make a new console. Now, the time in between this reveal and PlayStation's own reveal, they did reveal and talk about the specs that the next-gen PlayStation was going to have, and the name for their next console, the PS5. Very original. It wasn't until April of 2020 when they revealed the first look at what the PS5 will look like by revealing the DualSense, the design and features. The DualSense is the next-gen controller, according to the article they released showing the weird design, and that it was going to be very immersive with advanced haptic feedback and adaptive triggers.
Oh my god, so immersive.
And only 2 months later, on June 11th, the PS5 was revealed to the world. And man, does it look weird. It looks like they tried to make it look like it's futuristic, but it just looks confusing. What is this? $500? Well, there goes my other kidney. November 12th, 2020. The PS5 was revealed to the world, and only like 2 people were able to get it on day 1. Yeah, the PS5 was in small numbers when released, and unfortunately most of the people that were getting their hands on one were scalpers who marked up the price to sell on eBay. I just love modern society. Yeah, you were very lucky if you were able to get a PS5 for retail price when the PS5 came out. And unfortunately it was that way for a while, and still is a little bit. And yet you can get a Series S or X with no problems. But mostly that problem with getting a PS5 at retail price has let down at least a little. I mean, I got one, so... But nonetheless, still pretty hard to get at retail price, but... Moving on, what about my experience and recommendation of the PS5? Well, being able to play my PS4 games like Elden Ring and Forbidden West at 60 whole frames per second with ray tracing and HDR is actually pretty nice, and is a step up from the PS4 that I really didn't think I would even notice, but boy was I wrong. It actually looks better, it actually runs better than the PS4. But I will admit it's not as big of a difference as, say, the PS1 to the PS2 or the PS3 to the PS4, but it's still better. Now, as for the new PS5 games I got, coming up first is Demon's Souls. Now, I will admit I never actually beat Demon's Souls on the PS3, but I made a lot of progress in the game and enough to form a good opinion of it, and this remake is fantastic. Quality of life improvements, smoother gameplay, and the graphics. Oh, the graphics. Not to mention the fact that this was a fantastic game before it got remade. It's a nice Soulsborne from Software game with a lot of personality. It's also the first Souls game. After that came the dreaded Dark Souls series. Now that looks good. It looks just like real life. If real life sucked. Now that's just one game in the lot. What about some others? Gran Turismo 7. So this is what depression looks like. The next game in the sim racing franchise, now in 60 FPS with ray tracing. Now that's a fancy way to say this game's mediocre. I'm just kidding. This game is great. It's got a lot of different cars, tracks, and customization options. It's also hard to control. How do I make it go? This game has a lot of great qualities. For example, microtransactions. Yeah, the game released with microtransactions. Now, the previous game also had microtransactions, but not on this scale. Also, Gran Turismo 7 requires an internet connection to play. It is primarily a single-player game. Why do you need an internet connection to play it? It makes no sense. But I digress. Now on to Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is like Ratchet & Clank on the PS4, but with a new story and different areas to explore. In terms of graphics, the characters look pretty detailed, being able to see individual hairs on Ratchet. Not a super big leap, but it is noticeable. And now, my mistake. Yeah, I already had Forbidden West, but I got caught in the moment when I saw the PS5 was in stock, and I had the money to buy it. Besides, I'd be stupid not to pay $500 to play the same games as before. That would be horrific. Now, Forbidden West is a great sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, a PS4 game. Forbidden West seems like the perfect sequel, seemingly improving upon every aspect of Zero Dawn. There's a new gear upgrading system, a much bigger map with more exploration features, but it feels like it's missing out on something. I can't put my finger on it, it just doesn't feel much better than the first game. It feels like the first game, but with a new map and some new features. But all in all, it is a big step up from Horizon Zero Dawn, even if it doesn't feel like it. And it is definitely a system seller, if you could find a place that sells the system at retail price. Now, I could talk about more of the games I've been playing on the PS5, but might as well cut to the chase and say the PS5 is a great console, and it's got great games, and if you want a next-gen console and like the exclusives, I would recommend it. But would I recommend it over the Series X? Well, I'm gonna be honest, I'm more of a PlayStation fan, so I haven't gotten the Series X yet, but I will. Because I have to own it. I have to own every game. I have to own every console. I have to own everything. Everything. But the Series X looks great, and if you don't care about actually owning games, their Game Pass service looks great. It's better than PS Plus, that's for sure. Now, if you aren't a collector like me, I'd say buy the digital version of the PS5, because then you could save a whole $100. But then you couldn't buy used video games. You see the dilemma? But seriously, if you don't care about owning games physically, it's $100 cheaper and it looks more natural than the standard PS5. The standard PS5 looks like the digital-only PS5, but with a tumor. All in all, the PS5 is a good console. Not perfect. It's got a great controller, good games, even though might be some similarities between some of them. Good performance, and it looks like I'm playing on a Wi-Fi router. But alas, I lost too much money buying that PS5 that now I'm homeless.